Welcome back to another episode of Y2K Sports Talk. Today we're going to be going over our biggest winners and losers of week 14, as well as always our predictions for Thursday Night Football. So let's get started.
So to get into my winners, I'm gonna bunch it all up because they're in the same category of why they won. The Texans, the Steelers, the Jaguars, all three, coming so close to the end of the season, pushing into the playoffs. These three teams needed to win to help their chances of going in. The Texans have won multiple games in a row. The Jaguars were winning early, then they started going down. Now they're back up. Very big win against a divisional opponent, which then obviously took the lead. Um, you know, the Steelers, they've been just like this, but when it comes down to the wire, they pulled off, what they needed to do against your only other competition in that division, knowing, the Bills ended up beating the Bengals, so the Bengals aren't really in competition right now for that division anymore. But it was going to come down to the Steelers and the Ravens, and the Steelers beating them. It's huge. It really shows, the Steelers are most likely going to win this division. You know, whoever wins the division though, which is supposed to, probably going to be the Steelers, as I just mentioned. They're not really going to be that big of a threat though in the playoffs. But just to get in, anything can happen. So to put yourself in this position, knowing that you could go win your division, which obviously guarantees you one playoff game at home. So huge win for them. Huge win for the Texans. They're pushing their way up to try to be first. But the Jags also, they're doing what they needed to do. And so now they're first. It's going to be really close between them and the Texans due to the Colts, their quarterback situation. We have no idea what Philip Rivers is going to do. Who knows how that's going to look. I'm very excited to watch. But that sums up my winners already. To move on to my losers, I do have 5 losers, but like I did with my winners, they're all in the same category of why they lost. All these teams I'm about to list off have lost crucial games just this last week. It hurts their playoff chances severely. It's really bad that these teams lost. Some of them lost their lead in the division, or some of them were getting close to the lead, or at least staying in that wild card picture, and they just got bounced out. So to start with, one of them just is the Chiefs. Like, you were pushing for a wild card spot, you just lost. Now you're eliminated from even becoming even having a chance of winning your division, which it wasn't going to happen. But now you have a chance of being eliminated this upcoming next week if certain things don't go your way. So big loser Chiefs. Another one to move on to is the Colts. Like I said, the quarterback situation. We don't know how they're going to look. Will they lose out? Are they going to surprise people and win out? Are they going to? I mean, either way, even if they win 2 out of the 4, that's still pretty surprising considering what their schedule is. Especially if Philip Rivers surprises people and comes to play at least average, they go to the playoffs most likely if he plays at least average. But for this week, they're a loser because we have no idea how this is going to look. Another one on here, I have Eagles, Bucks, and Ravens. Eagles are they're lucky that the Cowboys lost, which they're also a loser. I have to add them onto there too because you were pushing for that wild card spot or potentially having the Eagles slip up, which they did, but you lost as well. So that's also like kind of like a shout out loss, honorable mention loss to the Cowboys. But the Eagles lost and they looked bad when they lost. So loser to them because they might still win the division most likely, but you're not going to do anything in the playoffs. These playoff teams are looking at you like, wow, that's going to be an easy game for us. You have nothing figured out. The whole season's been like this. You haven't changed anything. And so big loser to them. Their morale specifically is just going so far downhill. Another loser is the Ravens. You just lost to the Steelers, who were your biggest competition of that division because it was so tight. Now them having that over you is so devastating to your whole team, knowing now it's going to be almost impossible. You have to win out, and you have to beat them on, I think, a better record. So, because the Ravens have lost to the Bengals, but the Steelers, they beat the Bengals. So, and the Ravens play the Bengals one more time, I believe. So if they have to win out, though, if the Steelers also want a chance, they got to win out. But the Ravens specifically, they need to win out because I don't know about any tiebreakers or what. But for now, they have to win out. So loser to them, and then loser to the Bucks. Like, they're the biggest person on here that have had their division like the whole season, and now you're starting to look really bad, and the Panthers are coming up. You just lost to a division opponent, which was the Saints, and your record's too close to the Panthers right now to start losing these games, specifically the division games, because that's going to hurt you more than just a regular random loss to another AFC team or something. So that's why all of those people are in my losers. They're going to all be in the bracket, as you can see here. They're all losers for, like I said, playoff reasons. That's what, most of these losers are going to be these last couple of weeks. So that's why big loser to them, big winners to the ones I've listed, as they have a better push for the playoffs, and these ones they're sinking in the playoffs. So that's my winners and losers of week 14.
All right, and to start off with my big winners, I do have the Steelers as well. I could also be giving, a big loser to the Ravens or, any other of these opponents to my big winners this week. So it's kind of like a hard choice if I'm just going to choose a big loser or a big winner. I'm going to go big winner Steelers, but I very well, like I said, I could go big loser Ravens though. But big winner Steelers, I mean, is one of the biggest wins of the week to come on the road against Baltimore. They won 27-22. They pounced on this Ravens team who we both said before has been very slow and inconsistent, even with Lamar Jackson coming back, which is weird to say. It just does not make sense, but they are not playing well right now. Maybe Harbaugh could get fired at the end of the season, unfortunately, but they do not look good. Does not look good in Baltimore right now. But I mean, the Steelers pounced on that opportunity. Rodgers that game threw for nearly 300 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Metcalf had 148 receiving yards. Once again, just being the main Pittsburgh receiver. I would love to see if the Steelers could go draft a receiver or go get someone, else, maybe not in the draft, but for next season. And maybe that will lure Rodgers to stay, for example. But I mean, DK is doing his thing. I wish the Steelers did have another receiving threat that would ultimately help them out so much more. Um, Steelers defense did allow 400 yards that game. That's nothing horrible. It still is a Ravens team with Lamar and Derrick Henry, so the talent obviously is still there for Baltimore's side, but that is something I would want cleaned up more for Pittsburgh's side. But I mean, it's a huge division win. They're now in the lead with the division, 1 game lead now. They have that tiebreaker. They still got to play one more time in week 18, but I mean, Pittsburgh's going to be at home, so they got the hard part done winning on the road against Baltimore. But yeah, they got the lead. They have, the tiebreaker right now. Everything's rolling for them. It was a huge clutch win for Pittsburgh. So they're one of my winners. Next up, big winner Jaguars. I mean, beating the Colts. Obviously, that whole game was insane with, the main storyline with Daniel Jones. But either way, a win's a win. The Jaguars have definitely picked it up. Like you said, they started off hot, kind of, went iffy in the middle of the year, bouncing back between wins and losses, but they've now picked it back up. They've won 3 in a row. Now they're, first in the AFC South. They're third in the AFC right now total. And I mean, for the Colts, I mean, while I'm here, I'm going to say the Colts are a big loser. I mean, they've lost, 4 out of the last 5, and now Daniel Jones is out for the rest of the season. And I don't really know what else I got to really say to that except Daniel Jones is out. I feel horrible for the Colts. They're having a great year. They were a really likable team, in my opinion. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is playing amazing. Daniel Jones was playing amazing. Tyler Warren was one of the best, rookies, this season so far. And, they also got Sauce Gardner this season. Like literally everything was clicking. And just to see, I'm not going to rule them out. They still got a good record and everything. They could still, make the playoffs, obviously. But with the Texans coming up and the Jaguars, obviously, with the first place lead, it looks like they're not going to do it, with winning the division. It looks like they're going to have to go the wild card route, which is obviously not the way you'd want to go, considering the Colts did have, the lead in their division for 90% of the season. But I mean, while I'm here, I'll also talk about how I feel about the Phillip Rivers, signing and that whole thing. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I love Phillip Rivers. I love seeing him return. Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but just to quickly touch on it, I just don't think it's a good idea. I mean, he's 44 years old. I just don't think that is, great for, a quarterback to be playing at that age. It just doesn't seem right to me. Obviously, everyone goes to Tom Brady, but I mean, it's not the same. It's obviously not the same. It's different. It's Philip Rivers. I don't think him playing is very. I don't think it's going to go well. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to do horrible. I could obviously still seeing the Colts getting a win or two with them, but I mean long term because obviously he would be starting in the playoffs for him. I just overall it's a loss because I feel like even if he doesn't play, bad or a little bit less than average, even if he doesn't perform like that, I don't think he's going to be playing to the level that Daniel Jones was playing at, especially being 44 years old. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's better than, putting in rookie quarterback, Mills in there or Leonard, I mean. Um, but I, who knows? Who knows? It's better than a rookie quarterback, but I'm not a huge fan. I just feel like they're a big loser all the way around because who knows what's going to even happen with them because I had high hopes for their season. Um, Next up, I got big winner Packers. I mean, beating the Bears, that's a huge game. Huge game to beat the Bears 28-21. I mean, they had the game sealing interception there, on the final drive. Jordan Love had a good game. He had 3 touchdowns. Um, they're now in the division lead. The Packers are now in the division lead with that one win. They knocked the Bears from first in the NFC to seventh. So overall, it did a lot of damage to the Bears from the Packers. So huge win for them. And also, I got big winner Texans for like the 10th week in a row now. I got the Texans on here, but I mean, beating an always dangerous Chiefs team on the road. I mean, they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to take a 20-10 lead and end up winning the game with that score. I mean, CJ Stroud didn't necessarily have a great game, you know, but I mean, he's doing his job. He didn't turn the ball over. He did have a touchdown that game. I mean, this Texans team is already scary, but I mean, if CJ Stroud could even pick it up, I mean, obviously it's only his second game back from injury, but if he can get back to playing how he was pre-concussion about a month ago, then this Texans team is going to be even more scary than it already is. Because I mean, look at them. I mean, look at the streak they're on right now. Their defense is probably the best in the league. I mean, some stats from that game from the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes went 14 for 33, 160 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, that's probably Mahomes' worst career game, probably, in my opinion, of what I know of. So, I mean, to do that when Mahomes is in his own house, I mean, it's just flat out a statement more than they already have made statements this year. This was like kind of like the ultimate statement on Sunday Night Football to go and do that. And I think it's Mahomes's least amount of points scored at home ever in his career, only putting up 10 points that game. But Texans defense is top tier. I mean, now for the Chiefs' sake, they're 6-7. They're 10th in the AFC right now. They're probably going to be out of the playoffs. Like you were talking about, it's such a huge loss for them. I don't think they're going to end up going to the playoffs. I feel like that was the nail in the coffin for them. I feel like they got to go get a receiver for Mahomes. That game, I mean, if it wasn't the drops from the receivers, it was, no one was getting open. I know it's against the Texans defense, but either way, I mean, Mahomes could get some extra help more than the balls he was throwing in the dirt, too. I mean, overall, it was just an embarrassing game for that whole Chiefs offense. But now the Chiefs are probably out of it, so they're, a side loser for me. Um, and then for my ultimate, big losers, I got the Cowboys defense. I mean, they were rolling. I mean, they won three, maybe four in a row. I was talking about them pretty sure like every single week, with their win streak. But I mean, with that one loss, I mean, it was the toughest game left they had remaining, but it was, the most important game they had. And unfortunately, they didn't win that. They allowed 44 points. Jared Goff, 25 for 34, 309, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs only had 43 rushing yards that game, but he did have 3 touchdowns. Overall, the Lions got 5 touchdowns that game. I feel like Cowboys got to fire, their defensive coordinator, Eberflus. I feel like they got to let him go. I mean, with the Cowboys defense, I mean, looking at everyone on that Cowboys defense, on paper, you would think this would be one of the top defenses, at least like a top 10, top, 15 defense in the league by looking at, all who they have. But I mean, looking at the way they're performing, it just doesn't add up. And it tells me it's a defensive coordinator issue. that just can't happen. And now, the Cowboys still could make the playoffs, but their chances, I believe, now are 8%. So it doesn't look good. I feel like they should probably just tank. But I mean, who knows? The Eagles are also slipping. So who honestly really knows what's going to happen? But, big loser Cowboys, because that was like their main huge chance. And unfortunately, they didn't win that game. Next up, I got big loser to the Buccaneers. I mean, like you said, this was the upset of the week by the Saints. It was a really, really damaging loss for the Buccaneers. I mean, the Buccaneers are a contender, but the Saints aren't. You can't lose to the Saints. You cannot lose to the Saints at all. And I mean, they're luckily for them, they're still first in the NFC South, but they're now tied with the Panthers. Luckily, they have that tiebreaker, but with 4 or 5 games left to go in the season, and being tied with the Panthers is not a position you want to be in, especially when you had an easy game against the Saints that you should have won and put yourself in a bigger lead. But unfortunately, now you're dealing with the tie right now, so it's very stressful for them. Um, I mean, let me give a quick shout out to Tyler Shock again. I mean, for a rookie, he's been pretty good so far this season. 13 for 20 last game, 144. He did have an interception, but he did have two amazing rushing touchdowns. And overall, he has been playing pretty good. So quick shout out to him. I mean, he's already had a handful of 250-yard games this season as well. And he has been pretty accurate considering he's a rookie. But I mean, for Baker Mayfield's sake, I mean, what happened to Baker Mayfield? I mean, he isn't playing horrible right now, but when you compare to how he was playing at the beginning of the year when everyone was saying he was MVP favorite, and now looking at him, it's definitely a dramatic change for the worse. This last game, 14 for 30, 122, one touchdown, one interceptions. I mean, he didn't even complete half his passes. He completed less than half his passes at home against the Saints and ended up losing. It just does not look very good right now. And I mean, his last 4 games, he has a 4 touchdown, 4 interception ratio. Like I said, that's not horrible, but it's not what we're used to seeing, especially earlier this year. The Buccaneers, they can't be limping into the playoffs like this, even if they're going to make it to the playoffs, because they could lose that division lead. They are in the NFC, so I feel like they got to win through their division. I feel like they can't win with their wild card. They have a 7-6 record. I feel like that's not going to do it in the wild card, considering you have the Bears being that 7th spot, that last spot, and I believe their record is 9-4 or something like that. You got to win the division, and that was a game that they should have won. Next up, to finish off my big losers, I've got the Eagles. Is 3 in a row now, losing 19-22 against the Chargers, a Chargers team that had Justin Herbert, who pretty much had one good hand that whole game. They lost that game, and I remember saying earlier in the year the way the Eagles were playing. I mean, this was way earlier. Like you said, there's always been a problem this whole season is the Eagles' offense. I remember saying earlier in the year that the losses are going to catch up to them one way or another. And, maybe just now this is the time. It probably is. They've lost 3 in a row. Like I said, I knew it was bound to happen just the way everything was going on. They still were ended up, getting some wins here and there, obviously, but now they're on a 3-game losing streak. It does not look good. But I mean, I've said in earlier episodes as well, Jalen Hurts is a very overrated quarterback. I feel like this game definitely proves it a lot more. I mean, not all the interceptions were on him necessarily, but I mean, he wasn't making some good throws either. I mean, even when he wasn't throwing interceptions, he was throwing balls high or, too low, everything pretty much. And I did see a thing. I can't remember who said it, but it was saying that Jalen Hurts was pretty much, Justin Fields surrounded by a bunch of Ferraris, and I do agree with that. Just because, I mean, looking at his team, obviously this year hasn't been anything great like it should have. But I mean, still considering it was the same roster that won them the Super Bowl last year. I mean, great O line, probably the one of the best running backs in the NFL. You know, a better and defense and those are the things that are winning him games. He's putting up the most average performances, and this time he didn't, and it totally cost him. But I mean, he's a very overrated quarterback. I don't like the debate of saying like, oh, well, he's won Super Bowl MVP. It's just like, I mean, look at the team he's constantly had around him: Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, the best O line pretty much in all of the NFL, and like I said, a higher, better end defense. Of course, you could play average and still win some games. I mean, you're also the quarterback. That's a very favorable award to go your way for Super Bowl MVP. But I mean, that's that whole argument, but I feel like that game kind of proved why he isn't a top end quarterback. And I feel like no team should be scared of Jalen Hurts at all. Who cares that they were a Super Bowl team last year? It wasn't their quarterback. It's more of their defense or their run game or their O line if they can get that clicking. Um, but overall, that game was embarrassing for the Eagles. I mean, Hurts, 4 interceptions. He also had a interception and a fumble on the same play. Right now, the Eagles are not the Eagles. I knew this was going to happen to them. 3 in a row is not a good look. Even though they might end up winning the division still, you do not want to be limping into the playoffs. And so far, that's what they're doing. So that finishes off my big losers.
So to jump into Thursday Night Football predictions, I have the Buccaneers winning it very closely, 27-24. But I'm gonna let it be known here that I do not be surprised if the Falcons pull this out. Kirk Cousins plays well against the Bucks, and this Falcons team has nothing to lose. So unless they are wanting to tank for a better pick, expect them to come swinging, and expect it to be a very very hard game for the Bucks. Falcons knowing that the Bucks need this game for the playoffs, for any hope of the playoffs, and the Bucks knowing that they need this game. So it's going to be I think it's going to be pretty close, a very aggressive, hard fought game. I don't expect it to be too high of scoring. That's why it's only 27-24. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if the Falcons pull this one out. But for now, that's my prediction, and this game is going to be very important, for the playoffs for the Buccaneers, whether it's bad or good. So that's my predictions for Thursday Night Football.
All right, and so for my Thursday night prediction, I got the Buccaneers winning 23-20. Like you said, I won't be surprised if the Falcons win this game at all. I mean, it's a divisional opponent. I won't be surprised if the Falcons come in and just want to play spoiler. They got nothing to lose, so I can expect them to come in on the road and just try and mess it up, for their playoff division team. But I like the way that Kirk Cousins has been playing. I've always been a fan of Kirk Cousins. I like how he got started. He's playing much better than Penix was. But I feel like he is the guy for the Falcons. Obviously, he's an older quarterback. I just know Penix isn't it. But Falcons did get an upgrade there. Bijan's Bijan. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons win this game. And for Tampa's sake, like I said, I mean, coming off of that loss, it, hurts. It looks really, really bad for them. I just don't see them losing back-to-back games in a row at home to divisional opponents. I just don't see that happening. Like I said, it very well could. I wouldn't be surprised, but it just doesn't. I can't see the Tampa losing 2 in a row like that. They are the better team, even though right now they are like limping pretty dang bad. They are the better team than the Falcons. I think Baker Mayfield will hopefully, lock in, put up a good performance against the Falcons defense, which, didn't really have a good game last game or, the game before that against the Jets. The Falcons defense is in the holy frick. I'm having a stroke, bro. The Falcons defense is in the bottom end of the league, with their defense. So I think the Buccaneers should pounce on that. So I do have the Buccaneers winning. Especially with Drake London out on Atlanta's side, I feel like that's just the nail in the coffin. But Tampa should win this game, so that's why I have them winning 23-20.
All right, thank you guys for watching today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, and subscribe and all of that. And you want to look at our old videos, that's up on our page. If you want to look out for anything in the future, like our predictions of who we think is going to win the upcoming weeks, check out our Instagram, Y2K Sports Talk. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, like I said, please like and enjoy. Thank you.